Bad Company. This is a competitive tableau building game in which we control gangs of criminals and will be performing heists. You know, one of these educational, uplifting, cheerful games with a theme that maybe will be disturbing, but all of these cartoonish characters that somehow make everything better. So, the game will continue with us activating and upgrading our gang members until somebody has performed 6 heists or until a car, we'll see what those do, reaches that red section of the track. The cars will move on that track. That triggers the end of the game. Then you have a special turn which works differently, and then you score points and the player with the highest score wins the game. So we have our gang of criminals. They are formed by putting together 2 templates that are different from one another, and you give players randomly, so it's totally random that I got the cheesy tacos, totally random. And so our gang members represent the numbers from 2 to 12 with different icons and rewards associated with them. The general mechanic is pretty simple. Players will alternate being the active players, the lead player. The lead player will roll these 5 dice. This die here will be used later in the turn to move the police car by the corresponding number. It can be 0, but if that was it, then later in the turn, the car moves like that. The police car moving on the track may trigger the end of the game if it makes it all the way around, but also will reduce the effectiveness of other things, because usually when you move your own car, you collect the rewards indicated there, such as 2 coins, unless the police car has already passed those rewards, and then they kind of clean them up. That's for the police car die. But for the other main dice, these are the ones that we use to perform actions. Now, the leader can also choose to spend $1 to reroll any and all of these dice, and they can do that for as long as they don't like what they see and they have money that they want to burn that way. Once they have done that, once they have numbers so that will be the official numbers for the turn, the leader decides how to combine them to form 2 numbers, 2 pairs. So for example, I could choose to turn those 2 dice into an 8, and this one becomes a 7. Or I could choose to have a 6 or a 9. So those would be some of the options that I have. Let's say that I want to have a 7 and an 8. Now, as the active player, I get to use both numbers, so I get to use the 8 and the 7. My fellow humans playing the game only get one of them, so they get to activate an 8 or a 7, which is less good than being a leader, but still that means no downtime, because everybody will get at least a number. That means some resources to use every turn. What do you do with those numbers? You activate the corresponding gang leaders, and that will give you resources, and then you use those resources to do things. So, for example, right now I'm activating my 8 and my 7, and what that means is that the 7 I'm activating gives me 2 coins. Don't mind if I take them and add them to my supply, and the 8 gives me a steering wheel symbol, which is what moves my car, like so. Suppose instead that I decided to have a 6 and a 9. Now I'm activating the 6 and the 9. The 6 gives me the glove symbol, and the 9 gives me the lock symbol. Those symbols are used to complete heists. You will have a number of cards, such as these ones. These cards represent the heists. And in order to complete a heist, you need to cover all of the symbols on them. So, for example, since my dice just generated a lock and a glove for me, I could use these markers to cover the corresponding symbols. And so I cover a lock and a glove. As you can see, it may take me multiple turns, but I may be able to cover all of the symbols after a while. And if I do, kind of bingo style, if I do cover all the symbols on a heist card, then I complete the heist. I take it, I flip it to the other side. At the end of the game, I will score that many points, but only at the end of the game. I flip it to the other side, and I place it under my board here. because this is one, remember, one of the two triggers from the end of the game. Somebody has completed 6 heists. Moreover, as I complete heists, these symbols will be added to my area. Each turn we check and see who is the player that has most of those. There are 4 possible symbols: gold, bags of money, diamonds, and works of art. Whoever has the most, suppose at the end of the turn I have the most diamonds, gets a corresponding croissant. These are very important. You need energy to complete these heists. Just joking, they are supposed to be necklaces. When you receive a necklace of a certain kind, you place it on one of your gang members, and when you activate the gang member using dice, then you will score a victory point right away. But again, you have to check, because the necklaces for the coolest collector of a certain kind will change based on majority. But back to the idea that we activate gang members to generate symbols to complete heists. When you complete a heist, you look at the supply of available ones and you choose another. You can use your symbols also if you don't want to place them on a heist, or maybe you can't. You can use them to complete tasks. Basically, your board has 4 areas, such as these two, on which you can place these symbols. And when a task is complete, then you can remove the tokens from it to get the corresponding advantage, such as moving your car by 1 space on the track that I showed you, getting a loot card from this deck. They have unique effects and advantages about what you get, the game members you activate, money, and sometimes just victory points. And then the other side of the board for these spaces called tasks will allow you to trade 2 masks for any 1 token, or trade 2 gloves for $2. So basically, you will never waste your symbols, because either they go on a heist or they go to build up those advantages from those tasks. So remember the basic idea? 2 numbers per turn as the leader, 1 number otherwise. Activate your game members to produce these icons, complete heists, or work towards completing heists, complete tasks, like so. And also, you can choose to spend money to advance on this other board here. You have a meeple here who is your recruiter. So this person goes around collecting new gang members. The cost to advance is the one indicated there. So I would need to pay $3 to move there and recruit my first extra gang members. They come out of this deck. And they will, after, and you get to choose, you get to draw several and get to choose. And then once you have your new gang member, it goes on top of the previous one, and yes, they become taller as the game progresses. And now when you activate the gang member, you will collect all of the advantages indicated there. By activating a 10 right now, I get to move my car and collect a mask. And later I upgrade this gang member here, and maybe even multiple times. Now activating a 7 would be pretty neat, because I get a glove, a mask, and $2. But there's only a limited number of times that you can move your recruiter. Therefore, there's only a limited number of upgrades that you get. If you get there and you will still be able to move, you can spend $5 to collect 3 victory points instead. So you see your gang members become taller and also changing face as the game goes. Again, I suppose you represent recruiting new people, and you just keep recruiting taller people with more stuff, quite literally, under their belts. Ha ha ha. So, this is the general idea. 1 or 2 numbers are produced each turn. Activate your game members to collect tokens and do things such as completing heists or complete tasks. But you're trying to complete the heist. That really is the thing. Get advantages, trigger advantages and actions from your board, and continue like this until, again, somebody has completed 6 heists, or somebody has reached the end or the red area of the card track. And just like that. At that point, you have a special turn, collect points, highest score wins the game. Bad Company is a really fun game. Pleasantly surprised by how fun it was. I mean, I like the general mechanics. I like the fact that there's no downtime. I like usually engine building and tableau building. It just turned out that all of these elements are cooked together, are put together very well in here. They really come together well. In particular, you may know from some of my previous videos that I like engine building games. I don't particularly like engine operating games in which I build my engine, but now there's just this excellent way of using it. So every time I'm going through all the same steps, and that just becomes a lot less interesting. What happens here is that, well, I have some things that I really want to use as much as possible, and I'm improving my gang. I'm building a little bit of an engine there, but I will use it for different things in different ways. Now, maybe I'm going to use those tokens to get a wild token from something else to complete a task. Now I really want to complete a certain heist because it will allow me to get the necklace from you, because it will allow me to do something else. The police car, I'm ahead of the police car, so maybe I'm going to invest in that right now. I'm behind the police car. I'm never going to get rewards on that board again. Then I can redirect my thing somewhere else. So I really like the fact that you're improving your board as the game goes, and certain synergies seem to work overall, but it never feels trivial. You will always try to maximize your choices. As the leader, then you have, of course, the most options because you're deciding which actions you're going to generate for everybody. As somebody else, you have one action, but usually two to choose from. And if there is a turn where the leader gives you two of the same number, then you don't have a choice, but you can still maybe choose where you're going to place that marker. So there's still options all the time. No downtime, again, with spikes of activity when you are the leader, but never really downtime, never situations where you have nothing to choose from, where you have nothing to do, and nothing else considering, okay, it looks like I may still be the leader in a certain category, and so I can get the necklace. You're still looking at the situation overall. There is indirect interaction, because when I'm forming some numbers, maybe I don't want to create a certain number that I know will give you a ton of points because you invested on this one gang member, a ton of points or resources because you invested in that. So I want to avoid that. But if doing so then maybe it doesn't give me excellent numbers. Should I spend $1 now to reroll the dice, but I really want to recruit somebody? The idea is so simple, but the execution has so many interesting layers to it. The one thing that I'm not super excited about is how weird the game members look as you give them upgrades, but that is such a teeny tiny thing. Gameplay wise, I have absolutely no complaint. This is a fun, exciting game that plays well, plays smoothly, gives you a lot of interesting decisions around a very simple, very intuitive core of rules.